Welcome to Warriors, the place where modern men come to strengthen their minds, refine their character, and learn the truth about relationships without illusions. Today's topic is a heavy one. When a woman distances herself from you and ignores you, what should you really do? Most men panic, chase, beg, or spiral into self-doubt. But I'm here to tell you that reaction destroys your power, and if you've been doing that, you've been giving away your strength. The message I'm bringing is not about manipulation, games, or tricks. It is about returning to your core as a man, walking in self-respect, and understanding women from a position of calm and control. In relationships, distance is not always a punishment. It is often a test. The question is, do you crumble under it, or do you rise with dignity? Think about Marcus Aurelius, sitting in the midst of war, loss, and betrayal, writing to himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." If a Roman emperor under the weight of empire could keep his composure, why can't you hold your frame when one woman pulls away? That is the question every man here must ask himself. If you want to rise above desperation and step into a state of quiet dominance, stay with me until the end. Make sure you subscribe to Calma Rationale right now and open your mind. Because today, I'm going to show you what to do when she distances herself. And it's the opposite of what most men think. 1. Do not chase. Hold your frame. When a woman distances herself from you, the first instinct for many men is to chase, to demand answers, or to seek reassurance. But here is the truth. Chasing is the death of attraction. When you rush after her, you confirm her suspicion that you have nothing else in your life worth standing for. Think about this. If Marcus Aurelius, while ruling Rome, had stopped everything just to beg one person for attention, would he have been remembered as a philosopher king? Number. His greatness came from his refusal to be ruled by the emotions of others. The lesson is simple. When she ignores you, do not collapse into neediness. You hold your frame. You live as though your life has meaning beyond her validation. Let me ask you this. If you strip her attention away from your world, what remains? Are you a man with vision, purpose, and discipline? Or are you empty, waiting for her to fill you? That's the core of the problem. Seneca once said, "He who is brave is free." When you cling to her attention, you are not free. You are a prisoner. But when you stand firm, respecting yourself enough to let her go if she must, you show bravery. Women sense this deep in their nature. They test men, not because they hate them, but because they want to know if the man they are with has the strength to stand alone. If you fail this test, she feels she cannot trust you with her feminine essence. So here is the first command. Do not chase. Replace your focus on her with focus on yourself. Work out, build your craft, study something new. Let her absence echo in the silence of your strength. Because when a woman distances herself, the only correct move is to show her that you will not collapse, even if she never returns. 2. The power of silence. Silence is a weapon most men don't know how to use. When a woman distances herself, the urge is to talk, explain, justify, or argue your worth. But silence creates space for truth to rise. Epictetus, the Stoic slave-turned-philosopher, taught that we should not waste our words on what we cannot control. If she is ignoring you, that is outside your control. What is within your control is your response. Imagine standing in front of a storm. You do not shout at the clouds, you brace yourself and let the storm pass. That is what silence does. It shows you are not afraid of space, that you can stand alone without chasing noise. Think about modern figures too. When Nelson Mandela was locked away in prison for 27 years, silence was his shield. He did not beg his captors to release him. Instead, his calm defiance gave him power. When he finally spoke, his words shook the world because he had mastered silence first. Now let me ask you this. If you stopped calling, texting, and pleading, what would she feel? Would she feel relief because she knows you'll always wait around? Or would she begin to wonder why a man like you can so easily withdraw his attention? Silence makes her confront her own choices, and more importantly, silence keeps your dignity intact. Because every word you throw into the void, every unanswered message is a piece of your masculinity wasted. The lesson is simple. Withdraw, be silent, and let her feel the emptiness of your absence. If she cares, she will return. If she doesn't, you have protected your soul from the erosion of begging. 3. Reclaiming your purpose. When a woman distances herself from you, the worst mistake you can make is to put your entire life on pause, waiting for her to return. This is where many men fail. They stop going to the gym, stop working on their business, stop sharpening their mind, all because they are consumed with the question, why is she ignoring me? But let me hit you with a harder question. Why did you ever make her the center of your life in the first place? A man who lives only for the approval of a woman has already surrendered his freedom. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, reminded himself daily, a man's worth is no greater than the worth of his ambitions. So ask yourself, what are your ambitions? If your greatest ambition is to win back her attention, then your worth shrinks to her opinion of you. But if your ambition is to master your body, build your mind, and shape your destiny, then her silence cannot break you. History teaches us this again and again. Think about Alexander the Great. He conquered empires before he was 30 years old. Do you think he had the time or emotional energy to collapse because one woman pulled away? Number. He was consumed with a vision larger than himself, and women were drawn to that vision. The same is true today. Modern men who build businesses, movements, art, or legacies become magnetic without ever chasing. Because here's the brutal truth. Women are not attracted to men who orbit around them. They are attracted to men who orbit around a purpose so strong that it pulls everything else into its gravity. Now let me challenge you with this. If she never comes back, would your life still have meaning? If the answer is no, then you are not living. You are simply existing as her shadow. And shadows disappear the moment the light is gone. This is why reclaiming your purpose is essential. When she distances herself, it is not a signal to panic. It is a call to return to yourself. If you were writing a book, finish it. If you were starting a fitness journey, intensify it. If you had dreams you've been putting on hold, this is your time to bring them back to life. Because the man who builds himself while she is gone is the man she cannot forget. Seneca once wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." Every hour you waste obsessing over her is time you could have used to carve out greatness. Stop wasting. Start building. Women respect men who have something larger than them to live for. Even if she never admits it, her nature is wired to be drawn to men who walk in purpose. Think about modern examples. Elon Musk, flawed as he may be, does not pause his mission to colonize Mars because of a breakup. He continues, and because of that, people, women included, are drawn to his vision. So when she ignores you, do not make her the center of your prayers, thoughts, or actions. Shift your focus back to the empire you are meant to build. Ask yourself daily, what will I leave behind when I am gone? What will my children, my community, or the world remember me for? That is how you reclaim your masculine power. That is how you rise above desperation. And ironically, when she sees you moving forward without hesitation, when she feels that she no longer controls your emotions, that is when her interest may return. But by then, You will have grown so much that her validation will no longer define you. The lesson is clear. When a woman distances herself, you do not chase her. You chase your destiny. Because a man who has purpose is never truly alone. He becomes his own source of strength, and the world bends toward him. 4. Emotional control is your greatest weapon. When a woman pulls away, the battlefield is not between you and her. It is inside your own mind. Most men lose here because they cannot control their emotions. They spiral into anger, jealousy, or desperation, and those emotions drive them to do exactly what destroys attraction: argue, beg, or lash out. But think carefully. What is more powerful? A man who reacts wildly to rejection, or a man who absorbs it in silence and maintains his composure? Marcus Aurelius wrote in his journal, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. That one sentence carries the weight of entire libraries of wisdom. She may ignore your calls. She may refuse to answer your questions. But the one thing she cannot touch is your ability to respond with dignity. When you master that, you gain the upper hand, not only in relationships, but in life. Epictetus, who was born a slave and lived in chains, said that even though his body was imprisoned, his mind was free. That is the essence of masculine control. You cannot always control what a woman does, but you can always control how you react. Think about this in modern times. Imagine a man in business who loses a big deal. He could panic, insult everyone involved, and destroy future opportunities. Or he could stay calm, evaluate what went wrong, and prepare for the next move. Which man is more dangerous? Which man commands respect? Now, apply that to relationships. When she distances herself and you keep your emotions in check, you show her you are not dependent on her moods. You are steady, like a mountain, unshaken by storms. That steadiness is what women secretly crave, but rarely admit. The chaotic woman needs the calm man to ground her. But if you lose control, you prove you are just as unstable as she is. Let me hit you with a question that should shake you. If you cannot even control your emotions when one woman ignores you, how can you be trusted to control your life, your finances, your future, or even a family one day? That is why emotional control is non-negotiable, and it's not just about her, it's about you. When you let anger or sadness rule you, you hand over your freedom. The Stoics called this slavery of the soul. True freedom comes when you can be rejected, ignored, or abandoned and still remain calm. Think of Nelson Mandela again. Imagine the bitterness he could have carried after 27 years in prison. Imagine if, upon his release, he let anger dictate his actions. He would have destroyed his legacy. Instead, he mastered his emotions, forgave his enemies, and led his nation. That is emotional power. So here is the practical step. The next time she ignores you, do not respond immediately. Breathe. Step back. Ask yourself, does reacting serve me or does it make me look weak? Write it down if you must. Train your mind to pause before you act. Every second you hesitate before reacting is a second where you take back power. Because when a man can control his emotions, no rejection can break him, no silence can enslave him, and no woman can rule over him. She may pull away, but you will stand unshaken, and that is the mark of a true man. 5. The Art of Detachment. Detachment is not about being cold, heartless, or pretending you don't care. It is about refusing to let your happiness depend on one person's behavior. When a woman distances herself, most men crumble because their sense of worth is tied directly to her attention. But here is the reality. The more you cling, the faster she slips away. Seneca once wrote, "He who fears death will never do anything worthy of a man who lives." Replace death with losing her, and the wisdom is the same. If you fear losing her, you will never do anything worthy of keeping her. The art of detachment is learning to accept both possibilities. She may return, or she may never return. And you are unshaken either way. Think about a lion. Does a lion beg for respect? Does he chase after every gazelle that runs from him? Number. He waits, calm, patient, and still king of his domain, whether he eats today or tomorrow. That is the posture of masculine detachment. When you embody that, you become irresistible because you are no longer ruled by fear. Consider modern examples. Look at athletes who go through public breakups. The weak ones spiral into drama and self-destruction. The strong ones stay focused, keep winning, and remind the world why they are at the top. Who do women respect more? The man who begs and posts emotional rants, or the man who keeps training and lifting trophies? Now let me ask you this. If she walked away for good, could you still thrive, or would you collapse? If your answer is collapse, you have not mastered detachment. Detachment is not about losing love. It is about gaining control over yourself. Marcus Aurelius said, "Loss is nothing else but change, and change is nature's delight." When she distances herself, see it as change. Perhaps she will return, perhaps she won't, but nature has opened a door for you to grow. Do not resist it. Embrace it. This doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop clinging. You give her the freedom to leave, and you give yourself the freedom to live. Ironically, this freedom often pulls women back, because they realize your world does not collapse without them. But whether she comes back or not, you remain whole. The art of detachment is the art of true strength, because a man who can let go without breaking is a man who cannot be controlled. 6. Building unshakable value. When she distances herself, the temptation is to think something is wrong with you, that you must fix yourself to win her back. But let me tell you the truth. Your value as a man is not determined by whether she stays or leaves. Your value is determined by what you build, who you become, and how you carry yourself when tested. Marcus Aurelius never wrote in his journals about pleasing a woman. He wrote about living in alignment with virtue, justice, discipline, and courage. That is value. When a man focuses on those pillars, women feel it without words. But when you make her validation your only source of confidence, you become hollow, and she senses it. Ask yourself this. If every woman in your life disappeared tomorrow, what would remain of you? Would you still be powerful, respected, and disciplined, or would you fade into nothingness? The men of history who were remembered never tied their identity to one person's approval. Alexander, Caesar, Mandela, Musk, love them or hate them, their value was not negotiable. They built empires, companies, nations, and legacies, and women gravitated toward them because of the value they created, not because they begged for attention. So when she ignores you, do not shrink, expand. Build your body so strong that you intimidate your old self. Build your mind with books and wisdom that sharpen you for life's battles. Build your finances so secure that no one can dangle money over your head. Build your character so solid that even betrayal cannot shake it. This is the path of value, and when you walk it, no silence can defeat you. And here is the irony. When you focus on building, women begin to chase you because value attracts. It has always been that way. Even Epictetus, born in chains, became so respected as a teacher that the most powerful men in Rome came to hear his wisdom. That is the magnetic force of value. But let me press you with a question. Are you building yourself daily, or are you waiting for her to validate you first? Because if you wait, you will die waiting. Stop negotiating your worth through her attention. Start forging it through your actions. A man who builds unshakable value never has to fear when a woman pulls away, because he knows his life remains abundant with or without her. That is the mark of a man who commands respect, not just from women, but from the world. 7. The final test of patience and power. When a woman distances herself, the last weapon you must master is patience. Most men want instant answers. Why is she ignoring me? When will she come back? What does this mean? But patience separates the weak from the powerful. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Time is like a river, made up of events that happen, and its current is strong. No sooner does a thing appear than it is swept away and another comes in its place." What does this mean for you? That her silence today may mean nothing tomorrow, that distance today may turn into closeness again, and that rushing only makes you look unstable. Patience is not waiting idly. It is living fully while time reveals what it must. Think about Epictetus. He taught his students that if you want something to happen in a certain way, you are setting yourself up for pain. Instead, wish for things to happen exactly as they do, and your soul will find peace. So when she pulls away, stop wishing for her to respond right now. Instead, accept it as it is and continue moving with dignity. This is the final test because patience demands faith in yourself. It demands that you trust that no matter what she chooses, you will still rise. Look at history. Nelson Mandela was patient for nearly 3 decades in a cell, and when the time came, he emerged stronger, not weaker. Could you imagine if he had broken down in the first year, begging for relief? His greatness was forged by patience. Let me confront you with this question. If she ignores you for weeks, could you still remain unshaken, living with purpose? Or would you collapse into obsession? That is where true masculinity is revealed. Not when things are easy, but when silence stretches and you remain calm. Patience is also powerful because it exposes truth. If she was meant to drift away, time will reveal it. If she was testing your strength, time will also reveal it. But in both cases, you win, because you preserved your dignity. The men who fail are the ones who rush, forcing themselves back into her life, only to lose all respect. The men who pass are those who stay still, who wait not by doing nothing, but by continuing their mission, allowing her absence to either correct itself or prove itself final. Either way, they remain whole. So remember this. When she distances herself, it is not a punishment, it is an examination. And your patience will decide whether you graduate with power or fail with weakness. The man who waits with calmness, who trusts his own path, who never collapses, is the man she cannot forget. And if she never returns, he is still a king, because his life was never built on her presence in the first place. When a woman distances herself from you and ignores you, your reaction reveals who you truly are. Most men fail because they panic, chase, or collapse under the weight of insecurity. But you have been given another path, the path of self-respect, discipline, silence, patience, and purpose. You've heard the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus. These men lived in times of war, slavery, betrayal, and loss, yet they never surrendered control of their minds. Why should you? If they could endure empires collapsing, you can endure a woman's silence without breaking. The real lesson is that her distance is not your enemy, it is your opportunity. Your chance to rise, to build, to reclaim your masculine frame. The world will not reward the man who begs, but it will always respect the man who stands firm. So let me leave you with this. If she never comes back, would your life still shine? If your answer is yes, then you have won already. If your answer is no, then your mission is clear. Start building until the answer changes. Thank you for watching Calma Racional. Subscribe if you haven't, and remember, this is not the end of your journey. Come back, revisit these lessons, and keep sharpening yourself. Because in the end, when women test you, when life tests you, The goal is not to pass in their eyes. The goal is to never fail yourself.